And welcome to this episode of the Crispy Compact Communiqué, the shortened version of the Crispy Noodle podcast that we're doing virtually online in the middle of this coronavirus era of 2020. I'm Rich Liebig.
I'm Michael Costanzo.
And we are still here to give you some interesting tidbits in the world of sports, entertainment, and odd news. It appears I am coming from the Death Star, and Mike is making sausages if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live.
This is actually a great opportunity to show everybody, people that don't know or don't believe me, all the jokes for the past 7 years about making our own sausage and supersata. There it is.
Yeah.
Right there. That's the supersata right there. No, is that sausage or supersata? That might be sausage.
That's the sausage, it looks like.
That's the supersata on this side.
There you go.
In those casings, yeah.
So there you go. Mike has the perfect background for any of these Zoom calls that we do.
That's right.
And I have a good one too, since I've got the Death Star ready to go. Why not?
Audio listeners, you're missing out. You gotta catch the videos.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, it is cool that even if you don't have access to the visual format, you can still listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, all those fun ways.
iTunes, it's everywhere.
Yeah, all those fun ways that you can listen to podcasts. Before we get into the news at hand, Mike, other than sausages, how are you doing? How was your birthday?
It was good. We had a little cookout, hamburgers, hot dogs, the old standbys. My girlfriend got to come up she's been working in Tennessee, so she was able to come up for the week, and we were able to hang out a little bit. I played a lot of The Last of Us Part 2,
yes,
which is fantastic so far. I'm still not finished. I'm like 60-ish% of the way through probably. So that was awesome. And yeah, it was just a great little extended weekend because I had that Thursday and Friday off. So, I enjoyed myself, a lot of rest and relaxation, video gaming, hamburgers and hot dogs. It was a pleasant time indeed.
Excellent.
Yeah. How did you enjoy your 4th of July?
Had a fun time. Me and Rachel went to Rehoboth and,
nice.
I just spent the weekend down there, and it was good. We had our own little hamburgers and hot dogs kind of a thing, and
right.
I finally jumped in a pool. That was the highlight of my weekend.
Oh man,
it had been forever since I'd been in a pool.
Being in a pool is just so nice. It is so calming because I was in a pool too this past weekend at my girlfriend's parents' house. They had a pool, so I was able to jump in the pool. It's just so refreshing.
Yeah.
It's just something about it.
It's the only way I can stay outside in the middle of the summer. That's it.
Do you just get a snorkel, completely submerge yourself and just live in the water?
I was pretty much covered all the way up to my neck.
Nice. That's what I do. I just sink down until the water's like right here, and then I just sit there like this.
Or I do a float. I love
a float. You like a nice little float?
I love floating. Yeah. It feels so good. And at the time my hair was super long. So like I was just letting all the water hit the back of the head, and just cause it's hot. When my hair gets too long, it gets hot back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you wear your Oh, nice haircut. Yeah.
I don't know.
Very nice.
I don't know if you can even see it because of the headset, but yeah, I finally got a haircut.
No, you can see it. Well, you never really let people see the back of your head on the podcast.
Yeah. That wouldn't be a featured angle.
No. We should do that one time. We should do the podcast facing the opposite direction.
Yes. Hello. Welcome to the Crispy Noodle Podcast. Backwards.
Ooh, if only we had spinny chairs, we could slowly spin around.
Well, I'm in a spinny chair if you want to.
Oh, well, la-di-da. There you go.
I'm sorry that this is, visual. So sorry to our audio only listeners.
Look, we gotta drive people to the video. We've evolved now. We've moved beyond simply being an audio podcast. No, listen however you guys like to listen.
Yeah. And that's why we do have news topics at hand that we want to share with you. So Mike, how about we get into it?
Let's do it. Let's dive into the first topics that we have. We'd like to talk about sports first. Unfortunately, we have a really tough subject to deal with here in Philadelphia. In case anybody's been paying attention to Philadelphia Eagles football, they've been having a pretty rough go of it the past couple of days. Deshaun Jackson has been making headlines for the wrong reasons. Man, what are you doing? So it all started a couple of days ago. He made an Instagram post.
This is 2020.
I don't even know how to say this without it sounding fake. He made an Instagram post of a page from a book that had a misattributed quote from Hitler. So it wasn't actually a Hitler quote. It actually makes it worse. The book was misattributing the quote to Hitler in order to add validity to the quote, which I think makes it even worse.
Yeah.
If you're saying, oh, don't worry, this is a real valid statement because Hitler said it.
Yeah. It came from Hitler, the man himself.
And Deshaun Jackson was Instagramming this.
Yeah.
And the photo said, the book said, Hitler said, and then 3 quotes. And then the end was, Hitler was right. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yes, exactly.
There's just so much wrong. So much wrong with this.
Yes. So the good part is Deshaun Jackson has been extremely apologetic ever since that hit the internet, and he tried to delete it, and it's already out there. Once it's out there, it's out there. But he has been very apologetic. He's been in tight communication with Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie.
Yeah. By
the way, Lurie and Roseman are both Jewish. So he is on very thin ice.
Very thin ice. I mean, it's a really, really bad look, especially given everything that's happened the past couple of months with, this push towards social justice initiatives, and then to put out something that is very blatantly anti-Semitic. It just completely undoes everything that everybody's been working towards, which is equality for all and eliminating racism and calling out these issues where we see them. And then something like this pops up, and it's like you take a step forward and then 2 steps back, because part of eliminating this stuff from our society is you all have to be on the same page, and racism in any form is wrong, obviously, and so to see these anti-Semitic views come up, and then even more disturbingly is not many people calling him out on it. In a weird way, there were more people supporting him and defending what he was saying, which was kind of alarming to me. All of a sudden, the Eagles have this anti-Semitism problem with players like Marquise Goodwin and Malik Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey all liking various posts from noted anti-LGBTQ, anti-Semitic rhetoric spouting person, Louis Farrakhan. And so it's all of a sudden, several Eagles players are now liking all these posts from this person. And it's what is happening with the Eagles?
Yeah.
How did this become a problem? And how is it just now surfacing? The Eagles need to have a very tough conversation with their players, and they need to help them understand this is not right. These conspiracy theories that are being put out by this Louis Farrakhan, and just so if anybody's not clear on it, his group has been labeled as a hate group by the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center. So it's not just some fringe person. It's very clearly a hate group, which makes it even more troubling that we have players that are subscribed to these beliefs and tweeting about them and Instagramming them and finding support from other athletes about it.
Yeah. I think it might be a case. I know this sounds like a easy way out, but I'm going to go with Occam's razor, and that the simplest answer is probably the right answer. I think these players, especially Deshaun Jackson, they don't read the context of what they're sharing. They do not either think about or remember or even know the historical context that's being associated with some of these posts. And I think they just are interested in pushing out that, that perhaps these quotes and these pamphlets are pro-black. And while that's great, they don't realize any of the other historical context that may be attributed to it.
Right.
So for Deshaun Jackson, for example, I think Deshaun Jackson literally only, I hate to say this because, he's an Eagles player, but he's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed.
No.
He probably saw only in that line of text, he probably only saw God will favor the black people.
It was something about black people knowing who they are.
Yeah. And he probably only focused on that and didn't read the rest of the thing or even realize where the rest of that came from.
Right.
And I think that is the problem is those kind of players are like just they're very just reactionary. They're just reactionary and they share it. They don't give it a second thought. They don't understand the context that is being prepared. And then this is what you get. You get everything blown back at you. And
I really hope that's the case. But the text started with Hitler said.
Yeah.
And ended with Hitler was right.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
So either you're actually blind or you don't care about the context.
Look, Deshaun Jackson, we do have evidence of this. He dropped, he's done some dumb stuff before in the past. He's dropped a touchdown on the 1 yard line. He has done stupid things before. He is not the smartest person. I would say for this, I'm going to say he's not actively anti-Semite. And I think he just breezed through this entire thing and didn't realize what he was sharing.
I hope so. I hope so because
that's what I hope.
I hope because
either way, it's still wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Right. It's still wrong. Yeah, exactly. We're not using this as an excuse. We're just trying to.
No, absolutely not an excuse. And by the way, I said this on a tweet. If Howie Roseman comes out tomorrow and says we're going to cut Deshaun Jackson because of this, I'll absolutely 100% support it. But I'll leave that in the Howie's hands because this is probably even a bigger deal to him since he's actually Jewish and probably takes this more personally.
So my stance is that we can use this as a moment to educate because just cutting him doesn't really solve the problem because then the views are still there, right? And everybody who supported Deshaun Jackson is validated and thinking like, oh, well, there we go. He's getting cut because of his views. Instead, do like Julian Edelman did from the Patriots. He invited Deshaun Jackson to come to the Holocaust Museum, and then they would go to the African American Museum, and then afterwards get some burgers and talk about, the struggles that both groups have gone through. Because what it really comes down to is two historically persecuted groups. And I think, what's his name? I have it right here. Zach Banner from the Steelers put out an amazing video on Twitter. It's a 2.5-minute video. He goes into a little bit, but the gist of it here is this quote that I really like right here is he says, quote, just as much when we talk about Black Lives Matter and elevating ourselves, we can't do that while stepping on the back of other people to elevate ourselves. And that's very, very important to me. And it should be important to everyone, end quote. So he's talking about how when we preach equality, when we strive for equality, we have to uplift everyone together. We can't use other disadvantaged and marginalized groups to springboard. It's not about shuffling the hierarchy. It's about trying to bring everybody up together because that's when we're at our best. It's when everybody comes together to uplift each other. So, I hope that they can turn around and use this as a teaching moment, maybe suspend them for a couple of games. There's going to be a fine at some point. There has to be. And then, use this as a moment to educate and hopefully take some of these players aside and be like, look, we understand that you might not have gotten the full context, but here is why it's hurtful and here's how it's hurtful, and explain that context because then that's actually getting at the root of the issue.
Yeah. Also, every NFL player should be taking social media 101. Please be aware of what you're sharing
Now,
and realize that when you officially share something, it's out there. You're not going to get a chance to delete it. You're not going to get a chance to brush it under the rug.
So you majored in communications, Rich.
Yes.
It was that communications 101? Don't post stuff from Hitler.
Yeah, that was a pretty big one. Yeah.
Just you walk into the classroom the first day on the blackboard, don't post stuff from Hitler. There you go. Boom. Got it. You take the note. That was the first test.
Got it. Yeah.
There was only one item in the Scantron.
Yeah, that's pretty much 101. Yeah. Don't do anything like that's PR 101. Yeah, don't do that.
Look, I saw the headlines and I was like, I know 2020 wants to be like the most ridiculous year ever, but I was like, this has to be fake, right? And then it wasn't. And then later in the week, I saw that Jeffrey Lurie had just completed work on his latest documentary that his production company is working on. It's literally called, what is it, Understanding Hitler. And I'm like, you can't write this stuff.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, you can't. This is 2020. This is a whole new ball game.
Like he'd been working on this documentary for like 3 years, and now it comes out and it's like about the very thing that Deshaun Jackson's tweeting about. It's just, I can't wrap my mind around this.
Yes.
It's very upsetting, very disheartening. Where is it? Yeah. Oh, here it is. The Meaning of Hitler is Jeffrey Lurie's documentary film that he's been working on for 3 years.
Yeah, and it all comes out this week. Everything.
You can't make up these headlines.
Yes.
But
speaking of 2020 is a crazy crap show. I want to mention real quick here that Mike's premonition of there being no sports in 2020 might be coming true because we got a couple more updates from a couple leagues here. I'll just run through them real quickly. First off, soccer. When's the last time we talked about soccer?
Literally never.
Yeah, soccer has announced that their MLS is back tournament is now going to be without Dallas and Nashville because those two football clubs have pulled out due to a rash of coronavirus among their players. So that's interesting. We also have the NFL Players Association giving a recommendation to the league that they would like to see no preseason games at all. They think cutting 2 wasn't enough. They want to cut the entire preseason.
Look, I hate to take the pessimistic point of view because it's an easy point of view to take. Pessimists are like, it annoys me so much when people are like, oh, they automatically pessimistic because then if things go wrong, they're right. And if things don't go wrong, they're like, oh, I'm so glad it did, So I hate naturally taking the pessimistic view, but I have to say here that I don't think it's going to happen. I've maintained for the longest time that's not going to happen. And the NFLPA they want to do away with the preseason. They've already talked about how they don't want to do jersey swaps after games. But think about the sport of football. You can't play the sport of football 6 feet apart from each other.
No.
It's literally impossible. So if they want to get rid of preseason games and they want to get rid of jersey swaps after games, how can you do the mental gymnastics to allow the season to continue?
They're going to try to because the NFL is going to do whatever it needs to do to make sure that the regular 16-game and 17-week season happens. They'll sacrifice the preseason. They'll sacrifice all the other hoopla, but they want to make sure that they get a full season in. And they're going to be willing to do anything to make sure that does indeed happen.
But I heard that they were going to withhold money, and the NFLPA wasn't budging on that. The NFL, wanted to withhold money, put salaries in escrow or something, and then the NFLPA wasn't having any of that. It's like baseball. They're gearing up for a showdown, and it's going to be a disaster. And they don't have a plan in place. I mean, how can you play the sport of football and make sure that people don't get the virus. When people are already getting the virus, Ezekiel Elliott, outside the sport because they refuse to do any of the things to keep themselves healthy. Mm-hmm. So how are players who are notorious for going out and partying and having big gatherings going to do that and then play the game and infect potentially everybody else on the field? It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah. Or unless they wear the Darth Vader mask.
I don't. How can you play the sport of football with a mask on? With like a full, like, they can barely breathe it as it is. They run over they run 20, 30 yards. They go to the sideline and get the oxygen,
Yeah.
It's just, sports seems doomed. I think baseball is going to be the first one back, isn't it? Because the other leagues haven't started up yet.
Yeah. The Phillies are already holding practices at Citizens Bank Park. So
we'll see. That'll be the testing ground, I see, to see how well it goes. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but basketball and hockey, they haven't spun back up yet, have they?
Basketball has started practice, but they haven't done it. They're not. I don't think they're close to.
But like, this is the thing. Everybody's practicing. Everybody's getting ready for it. But like, these seasons are coming to a close.
Yeah.
And like they're running out of time. They're just going to practice and practice and practice until they're like, well, we missed the season. Shrug.
We gave it a shot.
We gave it a shot. I mean, that might be what it is. We gave it a shot. We determined it wasn't feasible. And then they can walk away with a half victory. I don't think sports is going to happen, though. I really don't. I've made my peace with it. Look, it took the U.S. Well, I just saw this statistic. It took the U.S. like 90-some days to get to 1 million cases, then 40 days to get to 2 million. And then only 20 days after that to get to 3 million. So not only are the cases going up, but the rate at which they're going up is increasing.
Yeah.
And then you want to have a full contact sport across 32 different cities? And how are you going to transport these players back and forth? Yeah. It's a logistical nightmare. It's a medical nightmare. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I love football. I really don't think that there's going to be football this year.
Okay. So there you go. Mike is all doom and gloom over there with his
all doom and gloom.
Yeah, there you go.
If they cancel all 4 preseason games, you watch. They're going to start eating into the regular season then.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. That would be the next step. However, Mike, you are forgetting one crucial sport in your little.
There's no sport besides football, Rich. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, you're missing the grandest sport of them all.
Football? No, we talked about that.
Nope. You're missing the wonderful world of golf, because golf is still happening, and they're gonna make it. This is gonna be golf's time to shine.
In all fairness, golf is like the only sport that you can play because you're out there on a wide open field by yourself. You're not touching anybody else's equipment but your own, and you don't need to come into contact with anybody ever through the entire thing.
Yep, it works perfectly. This is golf's time to shine.
And nobody wants to go to golf events anyway because they're boring, so you don't have to worry about crowds. I had to get a jab in there somewhere.
But if everything's a go, the Masters would happen in November, which is going to be November. Yeah, wow. It's going to be weird to have that time frame. But you know what? I still get golf, so I'll be happy.
You get golf instead of football.
Yeah, so not all hope is lost.
Oh God, golf is our only hope for sports this year.
Yes, golf, you're my only hope.
Golf, you're my only hope. Okay, Princess Leia.
Yeah, I am in the Death Star, so this doesn't make sense.
That's true.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Before we wrap up sports, we also had a couple of just other big news that happened in the NFL. A couple of quarterback signings. What do you want to tackle first?
Big quarterback signings. First up, I figure we'll get the small one out of the way first. Cam Newton, formerly from the Panthers, officially signs a 1-year deal with the Patriots. Could be worth up to $7.5 million.
Yep, it makes sense.
We all wondered what the Patriots are going to do here at quarterback. Now we know. I think this is a decent move for them. You know, Bill Belichick's the type of coach that could really formulate an offense that best suits his players, unlike other teams that try to cram players into systems that they refuse to budge from. Patriots might end up on top of that division again.
Yeah, and they got Cam Newton for dirt cheap. I mean, literally, he I think his only guaranteed money in the contract is the veteran minimum. That's it. Everything else is dependent on, does he make the roster? Does he play X amount of games? So it really is low risk for the Patriots. It's exactly what Bill Belichick wanted. He does not want to overpay for, skilled positions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a good move. I think it's a very good move for them. This move, I don't know how I feel about the Kansas
on the other side. We go from cheap to now really expensive.
We go from as low as you can get to as high as you can get, literally, in all of sports. The Kansas City Chiefs signed quarterback Patrick Mahomes to a massive 10-year, $503 million deal. It is officially the richest deal in sports history. $500 million. Rich.
Yes.
What in the ever-loving hell is going on in Kansas City? Does this deal make any sense to you?
Literally, this is Kansas. This is literally Andy Reid in Kansas City just walking up to Patrick Mahomes and just being like, just write a number on this check and we'll give it to you. That's it. That's the only way to justify this deal. It is insane.
It's insane. I mean, over $50 million a year. Now where I stand on quarterback contracts in the NFL. I largely view them, big contracts, as a negative because it hinders a team's ability to bring in other talent. So I don't know if they don't win another Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years, all of a sudden those $50 million cap hits, that's going to be really, really tough for the Kansas City Chiefs to swallow.
Yeah. To break it down a little bit easier, you got to think of it like it was first an extension on his rookie contract because he was still under his original rookie contract from when he got drafted. So that's like this year and next year. Then he's getting a top 5 elite contract after that point. And then there is 4 seasons at that point where there's an extension to that part of the contract. So it is bizarre how this kind of got all wrapped up into one big contract meatball.
Yeah.
That to use a sausage phrase, I'm using meatballs over here. Yeah, it is weird how it all just kind of rolled into one package. But you know what? Patrick Mahomes is easily probably the top 2 or 3 quarterback in the league right now. He's very exciting to watch. I mean, he
won them a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he is the franchise player in Kansas City, and you get rewarded. You get rewarded when you're the franchise player and you win a Super Bowl. That's what happens.
I mean, if there's one player that deserves a huge contract, it's him. My issue is just with the way we value quarterbacks in this league hinders team growth.
Yeah.
I do crazy amounts of research because I'm always on this train of like, we pay quarterbacks too much. Most quarterbacks, they win Super Bowls on their rookie deals. They win Super Bowls, on their second, not as lucrative deals. Look at Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers. They won their Super Bowls on their second deal of their career, where it was like big, like $20 million a year, but not huge. After they started signing their mega deals, what have they done? Nothing. They haven't even won playoff games. The Saints every year struggle to win playoff games. The fans create a whole big hoopla. Stop paying Drew Brees $50 million a year. Simple as that. Pay a defense. Pay, Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford. Aaron Rodgers. I could go on and on and on. Every big-name quarterback you can think of, Russell Wilson, won his Super Bowls on a rookie contract. How many Super Bowls has he won since then? That's right, 0.
So
the only time that I saw the stat, the only time that the highest paid quarterback won Super Bowls one playoff games was both Mannings, Eli and Peyton Manning. They won playoff games, but then lost later in the playoffs of those years where they had the highest contract total for the year.
Right.
In the last 10 years, the highest paid quarterback is, I think it's like only 2 for 10 in the playoffs.
Yeah. So I totally understand your logic, but at the same time, when you have a elite player, you're going to have to shell out some sort of big bucks. That that's just
because
free agency.
You risk them leaving the team.
Yeah.
So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
More often than not, I think damned if you do. Because like I said, I've rattled off that list of quarterbacks. How many playoff wins together, Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, and Matt Stafford, with their huge quarterback contracts?
One. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins got one last year.
Okay, Kirk Cousins finally got one. You can add Dak Prescott to that list. He's about to be $45 million a year and have 0 playoff wins too.
He's going to walk in the Jerry Jones office and ask for $1 billion.
And you know what? To show that I'm not biased, I'll throw Carson Wentz into that conversation too.
Yeah.
They're paying him $35 million a year, and he has no playoff wins to show for it. It's not entirely his fault, but that is an argument you could make if you wanted to make that argument.
Yeah.
We'll see. As his contract totals continue to go up, we'll see how the Eagles build the team around him and if they can continue that success.
I'll tell you what, though, at least for Carson Wentz, Howie Roseman got ahead of the curve and signed him before all this hoopla happened.
Oh, yeah, because now Dallas is straight screwed.
Yeah.
Because now Goff, Wentz, and Mahomes have all been signed, and Dak is going, where's my money? Yeah. Patrick is worth 50. That means I'm worth at least 40. Yeah. You know that's the argument. They're screwed. Yeah. They're done.
It's going to be interesting to see how he handles life after the franchise tag. Will he actually leave Dallas?
He'll go the Kirk Cousins route. He'll keep going under the tag.
It's a possibility. So we'll see how that all ends up. That's, of course, though, also assuming that there's even going to be a season in 2020. So
there's a lot of assumptions being made.
Yeah, there you go. And that's how we'll end sports on a wonderful note like that. Now it's time for some entertainment news. And this is definitely something that's near and dear to Mike's heart. The film version of Hamilton hit Disney Plus. Everybody now has the chance, as long as you have a Disney Plus subscription, to watch it on your own free time. It's a 2.5-hour movie with a minute intermission in the middle of it, so you can go to the bathroom or get your snacks.
Or just pause it.
Or, whatever you have to do. So, Mike, I know you're a big fan of it, so it kind of doesn't make any sense to ask what you thought. I mean, I guess you would assume you loved it.
It was terrible. No, it was amazing.
No, is there any difference between the play that you saw and the movie rendition?
Yeah. So both my girlfriend and I agreed. We'd both seen it in Miami. And this version is infinitely better than the touring cast. I know that sounds terrible, and I apologize to the touring cast, but this is the original Broadway cast that you're seeing in this movie rendition, and it is infinitely better. Not only is it infinitely better in terms of the quality of the acting and the singing, but just the visuals too. And watching it, I was so impressed with, like, when you go to see a play, no matter how good a seats you have, there's always distance. You can't really see them acting, but because of how the cameras were shooting it, you could see their faces. You could see, I know there's a meme going around of the spittle coming out of King George's mouth. That's like how close the camera angles were. You could really see the emotion and the acting while they were singing and really get into the action on stage, top down camera angles and panning shots and close-ups. It was a completely different way of watching a musical. And honestly, I think they should shoot lots of musicals this way. The next time Les Mis or Phantom comes to the stage, do the same thing. How Hamilton did is they shot it over 2 live performances and then a performance without an audience to get the close-ups. They could do the same thing and patch together. And it gives not only greater access to an art form that is traditionally more elitist. It's a lot of money to go to the theater.
Yep.
And also it's tough to get seats because there's a lot of theater goers that have subscriptions and you're usually in the nosebleeds or behind a column or something because all our theaters are old in this city. And they have columns everywhere. If you've ever been to them, it's terrible. The seats are cramped. It's fine, but it's not the best experience. The point I'm making though is greater access, a better experience, and you create musical fans out of people who might not have ever gone to see these musicals before, and for a $6 monthly fee, you can watch it. It's cheaper than going to see a movie,
I saw a meme going around that said, can we not have wealthy New Yorkers be in control of Broadway? And that's exactly what something like this is designed to do. That now everyone can watch Hamilton and don't have to spend $800 to go see it on Broadway.
Yeah.
So I watched it.
Right, you've never seen it before, and I've been bugging you to listen to the music, to listen to the soundtrack, or go see it, wherever it comes. And so now you finally got a chance to see it. What did you think? Did it live up to the hype?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's very good that they put the ability to have closed captions. On, because when it literally does hit the ground running with the singing and the rapping. So I was like, I turned to Rachel. I'm like, pause. We need closed caption. Like we need to be able to understand what's happening. But other than that, it is fantastic. I do have to give it props. It's a great story. The songs are great. My favorite parts were the King George parts.
King George is great,
and he's acting like a jealous lover when he loses America. It's hilarious. I don't know who came up with that shtick, but that was great. And he's only in it for 8 minutes out of the entire.
Yeah, he has 2 or 3 numbers, but they're always showstoppers.
Yeah, that was every time he came on, I was laughing. I loved it. So he was a great part. I loved that the cabinet meetings were rap battles.
Yeah,
that was I like that little tidbit. And I also liked Aaron Burr.
Aaron Burr, I think, is my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah, it was interesting. They kind of flipped the tables on Aaron Burr. Well, everyone kind of thinks of him as just only the guy that shot, Hamilton. Right. But he has a big storyline in this play, and you almost kind of feel bad for him, And it was really well done. I was basically, I understand the hype, and I'm glad I got to see it finally.
And you're all on board with the hype. Nice. That's what I like to hear. Yeah. The things that impressed me the most, I mean, the very first time that I listened to it, and in all my subsequent listenings, and like I said, I went to see it in theater and I watched on Disney Pluses. I don't think a lot of people realize just how funny the musical is. There's a lot of really funny, awesome moments.
I love the constant ribbing on John Adams. Did you notice that?
Oh my God. Yeah.
They really have multiple jokes at John Adams.
Yeah. So good. And, just the way they portray Jefferson as this really flamboyant, aloof, it's just phenomenal. All the little zingers they have in there, the rap battles, the King George bits. There was a lot of humor at the same time. There's a lot of heart too. They have the humor and they have the whole, Eliza taking herself in and out of the narrative and trying to make herself part of this grand tapestry that Hamilton is weaving. And then at the end, spoiler alert, but she's the one that tells his story. That's one of the themes is, you don't get to decide who lives, who dies, or who tells your story. And so I found it very powerful that, I don't know if you noticed, throughout it, she asked, I want to be part of the narrative. Then later on, when they had a falling out, she said, I removed myself from the narrative. And in the very end, she puts herself back in the narrative, and she ends up the one carrying on the legacy. So it's equal parts hilarious, captivating, and very emotional. Not only that, but it's packing all this history in there too. I love the references.
Yeah.
If you're able to put in Southern Democratic Republicans into a song, when I first heard that, I was like, okay, this is amazing. Because it's such an obscure thing that nobody knows about,
Yep. So that's, all the pros of it.
The cons. There are no cons. No,
yeah, I know. But for watching it, I watched it twice with two different people.
Okay.
I've noticed that the first act is a little kind of jarring. Like it hits first off, it hits the ground running with the rapping and the music. You got to be like ready to go, and you got to be paying attention. And with them setting the stage of what's happening in the Revolutionary War and who's who, I noticed that there is kind of a little bit of a, maybe if you're not in tune with history, or if you're not, if you don't have an affinity to this subject, right. I do notice, a little bit of a, am I really gonna get this? So I will say to those that haven't watched it yet, if you've watched the first act and you may be like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. Wait, the second half Act 2 is much better than Act 1, because that's where you throw in the human emotion, you throw in there's a fall from grace. That's when there's really more actual drama in this play.
I would argue that that's all set up in Act 1, though. You don't get the weight and the gravity of that in Act 2 without like the songs like "Helpless" and now I can't remember, or "Hopeless." Now I can't remember. "Helpless" and
"Helpless"
and the one with Angelica Schuyler. What is "Satisfied"?
Oh, "Satisfied," yeah.
Yeah. So they do set up a little bit, but you're right. A lot of it is very much focused on the Revolution. And me I majored in history, but being a history buff, I was like, Lafayette song, I'm like, let's go. A whole song about Marquis de Lafayette, that was like right up my alley. I was like, this is amazing. So if you don't get excited over the mention of Lafayette, then you're probably not going to get excited over some of the aspects of Act 1.
That's what I'm kind of pointing to, is if you don't have an affinity for history or stuff like that, you may watch Act 1 and be like, I don't see why this is so great, but keep with it. Act 2, I think, is where everything comes together. The human element, the actual philosophical question. Yeah, that's where the payoffs are. The philosophical questions. Yeah, stick with it. Act 2 is where it's at.
Yeah, Act 1, they lay all the groundwork for who Hamilton is, what his driving force is. They set up the players, and then in Act 2, they start knocking down those dominoes.
Right.
So it's one of those things where you have to stick with it.
Yeah.
Act 1 shows you who Hamilton is and shows you what his wants and needs are and all the major players in his life, and then that's when they all come crashing together in Act 2.
Yeah. All in all,
what did you think about? I want to get you what your opinion is of the duels, because those are some of the biggest highlights.
Yeah. I enjoyed the 10 rules of dueling. That was interesting.
Fantastic song, but also how they set them up with the stage is almost like Les Mis in that it rotates.
Yeah, it's a turntable.
But only the outer ring and the inside circle can rotate separately.
Yeah.
And the way they use the interpretive dance, and especially in the duel numbers, was really cool.
I also didn't realize that I read this later after I had watched it, that there's an actual character named the Bullet. Like, she's actually casted as the Bullet.
Well, I'm sure you noticed her during the...
Yeah. But it's not just that. She is kind of the metaphor for death. She always appears I was reading this article.
You're right. Whenever somebody's dying or
about to die or something, she's always like kind of one of the last people the character interacts with.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of nuance. There's a reason why it won like 11 Tonys and why it's like been such a phenomenon. Like it's a really solid story, musical, performance. I mean, everything about it is so tight. You know, you have the 3 duels, you know, the rule of thirds, and you have all this interpretive stuff, and you have the history and the humor and so many different musical genres, from rap to R&B to jazz to ballads. I mean, it accomplishes so much. It does so much right. There's just so much packed into it. That's why it blew me away when I listened to it, and I said, every time I listen to it, I say, this is going to be the time where I'm going to get tired of it. And I never get tired of it because there's always something new that you discover in every listening and every rewatch of it, because there's so much packed into it, and it flies by like a mile a minute because it's lightning fast, and it's, like I said, it's just bursting. So yeah, it definitely warrants multiple listens, multiple watches. You do, I think, have to have, like you said, a bit of an affinity for history. You have to get excited over things like Lafayette and George Washington's farewell address.
Yeah.
You know, or some of it, like, yeah.
Which I enjoyed that bit too. They made a whole song out of Washington's farewell address. I love that. That was great.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you like it, because I've just been I've been hammering it. Like, every week since I listened to it for the past 7 months. I'm like, Rich, you got to listen to this. Rich, you got to listen to this. I would force him to listen to a song, and you'd be like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, it's better when you have the visuals and you can see the whole thing from start to finish and the actual story. So
yeah,
no, I'm with you now. It is a very good musical.
It's a great story though. The whole Hamilton-Burr rivalry.
Yeah,
and it never gets taught. I mean, we were both in like AP history. You know, I'm dropping Hamilton's, faster than Burr. You know, it was always a punchline. It was always like the funny little story, like, oh, can you believe that they had a duel and they actually, But like when you learn everything behind it, it's fascinating. Yeah. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you haven't seen Hamilton, go do it right now. Borrow someone's Disney Plus account. You need, it's pretty good.
Just buy the month for $6 and then cancel. Yeah. No, like literally, it's. Yeah. Can you get a month, or does it have to be a year?
I don't know. I'm not sure exactly.
You wouldn't know. You don't like Disney.
Yeah, I borrowed Rachel's. I'm sorry.
As long as you saw it, doesn't matter. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Watched Hamilton.
Yep. Yeah, that's the meme. Doesn't matter. Watch Hamilton. That's exactly. Whatever you do, doesn't matter. Watch Hamilton. Well, I guess for the Crispy Noodle podcast, one of our slogans that would be a spinoff of that would be, doesn't matter, odd news. Because
that's right.
There's always got to be at least one odd news that we go over in our odd news nugget here on the Crispy Compact Communiqué. And I have a very interesting story out of Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you like that, Vermont?
I don't think we've ever had a story out of Vermont. The only thing that I know that comes out of Vermont is cheddar cheese.
Well, we also got this odd news story. And apparently this dude loves his pickle.
His pickle or just like a, just read the story.
Let's read the story. All right.
Okay.
So a 34-year-old man is facing an assault charge after he was able to strike a highway worker with a large pickle that he threw from a moving vehicle.
An actual pickle. God.
Yes.
Okay.
What were you thinking of, Mike?
Nothing at all. Well, when you say his pickle.
How dare you, Mike? Now go back to working on your sausage.
I know. I was just going to say, I'm saying this as I'm like, I have sausages in the background.
Yeah.
I like my sausage. Okay.
There you go. Well, don't throw it at people.
No, never. So wait, so he threw. Was it intentional? He was driving by and he's like aiming the pickle and he's like, I'm going to get him, and throws it? Or like, was it just tossing trash? What was?
So according to police, 34-year-old Christoph Hermansdorfer, what a name.
Wow. Very German.
He was a passenger in a vehicle that was traveling on Route 7 in Vermont.
Okay.
Cops allege that Hermansdorfer then threw the pickle that hit 59-year-old Carl Hoffman of the Vermont Agency of Transportation. Apparently, they were speeding.
Okay.
So think about this. This is pretty impressive aim. They're speeding, and he's able to chuck this pickle at this.
That is actually impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
To throw a pickle out of a moving vehicle and hit somebody. But you still didn't. So was he specifically aiming for the person? That's what I'm trying to figure out. It sounds like probably he was.
It sounds like he was just looking to a funny way to discard this pickle. And
I mean, you know what? You shouldn't be throwing food out the window anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
don't
like
waste food.
Yeah, but there's a lot of issues here. 1, don't waste food. 2, don't throw it out the window. And 3, especially don't throw it out the window at a person.
Yeah. The pickle, cops say, struck the victim and caused a bruise.
Ow.
So
well, I guess if you're moving that fast.
Pickle moving faster than the speed limit. Yeah, it's going to do some damage.
Well, what was the speed limit?
It was a highway.
It's a highway. It's yeah.
It's going to be pretty fast.
You figure at least 50, 60 miles an hour. That's a 50, 60 mile an hour pickle right there.
Yeah.
And pickles, now hold on. I got to know. Was it a spear? Was it a sandwich slice? Was it a whole pickle?
It was a whole pickle.
Was it a tiny pickle? Was it like a big size pickle? Like you got to give me details here. Tell me about the pickle.
It says it was a large. Why aren't we doing the regular podcast? I need to isolate some of these sound clips.
Tell me about the pickle. Yeah. Oh man, now's my time to really say some weird stuff.
Right. So yeah, it just
that's
says
ever stopped me before.
Yeah. It just says it was a large pickle, whole pickle.
So it's kind of like the pickles that you get out of like the pickle jar, out of like the, you know what I mean? Like at the supermarket, they have like the pickle
at the deli.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they got like the big, nobody can see this unless they're watching the video, but like the big, like multiple finger sized.
Right. And it's being flung at you at over 60 miles per hour.
Yeah. They're kind of solid.
Yeah.
Those pickles.
It'll do some damage.
Yeah. Man, I really want a pickle now. I haven't had a pickle in a while. You know,
please send Mikey Costanzo a pickle.
No, don't send me pickles. How do you mail a pickle? You can't mail a pickle.
Just one.
Just one.
Not even a jar, just one pickle.
Just stick it in an envelope and seal the envelope with the pickle juice and mail me a pickle.
That's going to get nasty in the
That's going to get really nasty.
Speaking of getting nasty, I also have a treat for our visual part of the audience. I have a selfie that he took
while throwing the pickle.
No, just of this guy, the guy that did it. He must think he's Mr. Hot Stuff.
Okay.
Because this is apparently his profile picture. I'd see. Oh, I just realized I can't
show it.
I have to get away from the Death Star.
Oh my gosh.
Darth Vader is not happy with me. All right, there we go. So now I turned it off. Here we go. There's the actual. There he is. Wow,
that's obnoxious.
He's a winner.
Yeah, why do people take those pictures? So for people that can't see this, for audio listeners, it's a mirror selfie, and he's like shirtless, and he's got like sunglasses, and his hair's like all like coiffed, and
he's got sunglasses from like the 90s. Like this is like first movie Matrix sunglasses.
Yeah.
And he's got like a chin strap beard,
but like the shirtless mirror selfie, like
with a nipple ring. He's got a nipple ring.
Oh, geez, why are you? Also, what is okay? I don't know.
Yeah,
he seems like a real winner.
Yeah,
very full of himself, and he clearly has no problem with throwing trash out the window at people.
Yeah.
So lots of negatives.
He's the great column. He's the great Christoph Hermansdorfer.
Hermansdorfer.
Yeah, what a name.
Sounds German.
So anyway, he was later located by police, and he has been charged with a misdemeanor account of simple assault. So
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I'm
still impressed that the pickle actually bruised what?
I also, in a follow-up note that I didn't realize, it says that he has a past conviction in 2016 after he threw a corkscrew at someone in Florida.
Oh my gosh.
So he's part Florida.
He's Florida man. He's Florida man.
He's part Florida. There you go.
God.
He's got half of Florida.
Half of Florida and a whole pickle.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster.
So
add 1 part Florida, 1 part pickle.
Yeah, 1 part corkscrew.
Stir at 60 miles per hour. And you have an odd news story. Yeah.
Out of a car.
Fling out of a car, you got an odd news story. That's the recipe for odd news.
Yeah.
Florida, pickles, and speed.
There you go.
Either the drug or the velocity.
Sounds like a winning combination.
Yeah.
And there you go. That's what I have for you in the odd news nugget of the week. So before we officially end this episode, we like to do a little recommendation for things that you can do with apocalypse activities. Mike, what do you want to tell people to do during the apocalypse activities?
This thing. Oh, you can't see it. Hold on. Oh, or can you see it?
If you hold it on your chest, you're good.
Poetry for Neanderthals.
Okay, what is that?
It is a card game by the creators of Exploding Kittens. I got it for my birthday. And the basic premise of it is brilliant. You play in teams, and it's basically you get a card with a word on it, so like dinosaur, and you have to describe that word to your team using only 1-syllable words, which sounds easy, but it's really tough. You can say anything you want, but you can't say the word on the card, and you have to say only 1-syllable words. And if you say a 2-syllable word by accident, the person sitting next to you on the other team gets to hit you in the head with an inflatable stick. And you sacrifice that point and they get that point. So it's a lot of fun.
I think this just sounds like a way that you can hit people on the head.
Yes, it is.
There doesn't need to be an actual game element to this.
No, it's just hitting people in the head. No, but it is actually a lot of fun. I tried it out with my family, and we had a blast. It's a lot harder than it seems coming up with 1-syllable words to describe, because they're like complicated. Like the one was like emotional breakdown. Like how do you describe that with 1-syllable words? You know? And you have to try and convey that to your team in 90 seconds. And then you have to do the card. If you skip the card, the opposing team gets a point. If you accidentally say a word on the card, the opposing team gets a point. If you say a 2-syllable word, the opposing team gets a point. So there's lots of ways that you can earn and sacrifice points. So you're constantly snatching cards from the other team as they make mistakes. You're giving up cards as you make mistakes. And it's just utterly ridiculous because you're trying to, act like a caveman and talk in 1-syllable words to describe really complicated ideas. So yeah, the game just came out. I have tested it. It is Mikey approved. Mikey approved. You get a little inflatable mallet, a little inflatable, like they call it a no stick. It's like a caveman, club, and it's good for ages 7 and up. Plays two, however many players you want. So it's a great party game for lots of people. Yeah, I say go check it out.
Basically, Mike just wants to hit people.
I just want to hit people. Yeah,
there you go. Sounds good.
There you go. Poetry for Neanderthals. Go check it out.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to be doing. Rich, what do you got for apocalypse activities?
This is something that Rachel told me to mention.
Okay.
I had never, up until this point, never seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I don't know why. It fell through the cracks. I never got around to it.
I've never seen it either. Is it good? Have you watched it?
It's very good. So yeah, Rachel corrected it. We watched it. I think it's on Netflix, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
It's really interesting. It's basically kind of it's like a video game version of a nerd trying to get a girl, and he has to fight all of her ex-boyfriends
Okay.
It's a really interesting like way of telling this story because
Right.
it is very much in tune of like how a video game developer would have thought this through. So
Like, are
like
they like bosses and levels kind of?
yeah,
Okay.
each ex-boyfriend that he has to fight is like an increasing level to the game.
Okay. That's pretty cool. That's a
Yeah,
very unique concept. Yeah.
yeah. And just the actual art direction is interesting too because it weaves in and out of whether or not he's in a dream or what he's feeling at the time, or if it's a video game reference. It all just blends into one. You can't really tell whether or not what each thing is.
Okay.
So it was really interesting, and it was just one of those things that fell through the cracks. And Rachel was like, "We're fixing this. You gotta watch it." So we watched it, and I I noticed Kieran Culkin is in it,
Okay.
and he is Macaulay Culkin's younger brother, and he is in one of
Okay.
my favorite shows, Succession. And I would like to reiterate to you, Mike, and to everybody, watch Succession. It's a great
Okay.
show.
That's the HBO series, right?
Yes, there's only
Okay.
2 seasons of it so far, so you can get caught up pretty quickly. It's the best writing on TV right now,
Okay.
and I think more. I don't know why more people haven't watched it. It is so good. Um, Basically, it's a story of a wealthy family that controls a really big news network.
Okay.
The father has some health problems, and the questions come up and internally within the family who's going to be the one to take over the news company, either when he wants to retire or when he dies or whatever. What's the plan for succession?
Right.
It is so good because all these characters have some element of they want to not backstab, but they just want to prove that they're deserving of the top dog job.
Right.
It is so good. The
Hmm.
writing's fantastic. You gotta check it out.
Okay. You can't go wrong with an HBO show. They're usually pretty good.
Yeah. So in a weird way, go Kieran Culkin.
There you go. Kieran Culkin is your apocalypse activity.
Yeah. Anything with him in it, go for it.
Okay.
So there you go. That's your apocalypse activities. And with that, it is time to start to wrap up this episode of the Crispy Compact Communiqué. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed our time here in the Death Star or at Mike's Sausage Company. If you like what you heard, make sure you go to our website, thecrispynoodle.com. Make sure that if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, that you follow us on Facebook at The Crispy Noodle, on Twitter at The Crispy Noodle, and on Instagram at The Crispy Noodle Podcast. All the social media stuff.
That's right. You can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube. But most importantly, if you're not watching the video, you can get the audio version of the podcast by subscribing to the Crispy Noodle Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, and Spotify. You get the latest episodes downloaded for free every week. So make sure you search for, download, and subscribe to the Crispy Noodle Podcast on the podcast service of your choice.
That's right. We also got a SoundCloud page where you have promos called the Mini Noodles. They're a lot of fun. They're only 1 to 2 minute promo clips. You can play a couple of those and relive some of the best highlights from the show.
That's right. So many ways to get in touch with and share the Crispy Noodle Podcast. If you want to get in touch with us individually, you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Mikey Costanzo, MikeyCostanzo.
And I'm at Rich Liebig, RichLiebig. You can find us on the Twitters. Let us know what's happening. If there's a topic you want us to cover on next week's episode, let us know and we'll give you a shout out. So send any sort of questions, comments, send them to us on Twitter. Let us know what you think.
Absolutely.
Yep. But for right now, I think it's time to wrap up this episode. I think I got to get back to my TIE fighter and see how it's doing. So that will be it.
Sausage to eat, apparently.
Yeah, Mike's got more sausages to eat. So on that note, thank you for watching. This has been the Crispy Noodle. Let us be the Crispy Noodle in your vegetarian salad of life and boring news. That will do it. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys
Later. Bye-bye.